little bit about what it means for brands to do good. Deborah, I was talking with you a little bit before. We mentioned earlier today the passing of Steve Jobs, who was without question an iconic leader, not just of the technology industry, but of entertainment, digital media, brand, making brands beautiful, bringing a brand back from the dead. Really a remarkable human being. And at Apple stores all over the country and all around the world in the last 48 hours, memorials have been springing up. Flowers, candles, notes. I mean, the outpouring is unbelievable. In Soho, I was walking through Soho yesterday, and a busy street corner in Soho was drawing to a halt because everyone was stopping in front of the store. People were crying. People were standing there with their heads bowed, really paying homage to this man. Now, name me any other CEO of a global corporate entity where people would actually give a shit if they died.
Right.
No, that's fascinating.
They might throw a parade, especially if they're in banking. Yay, they're gone. They're not in jail, but they're dead. There's that internal voice again. Sorry, late in the day, a little caffeine. But let's talk a little bit about what it means for brands. Deborah, when I look at something like Red and the brands that you have working with you to really give a halo effect to their brands, there are many brands that do something like this, perhaps for the PR value. But it's not really like that with Red. The brands that get engaged with Red really are deeply engaged in making a difference. Maybe you can talk a little about that.
It's true. I mean, and you know which brands are authentic or not, just like you know which celebrities are authentic or not. It's got to fit, and it's got to be, of them and what they're about. And Red came about completely as a solution. That Bush was saying AIDS is ravishing this planet, and one of the best things he did was to establish PEPFAR and organizations like the Global Fund Global Fund was set up to fight TB, malaria, and AIDS. In their mandate, they were supposed to have the public sector, so countries and governments, but also the private sector, corporations and people giving, and that was their mission. After 4 years, they had $5 billion from governments all around the world and $5 million from corporations. Corporations weren't giving to AIDS. It was not an issue that they wanted to be in any way associated with. And so Bono and Bobby Shriver came up with a business model that said, let's let people be able to trigger corporations to give. And we'll let, and they just used the color red to unite because red was a sense of urgency. And 30 million people were dying. And so they said, let's make it really easy for people. Instead of the white Nano, buy the red one. Instead of blue Converse sneakers, buy the red ones. And so it was, in some ways that makes me feel bad. Are we making it too easy? Because then people go around feeling really good about themselves all day, and maybe you should do more. But the fact is that if you can tap into what people are going to do anyway and make them feel better about a brand for what they do, we should take that and run. I mean, look at the brands that I'm doing my plug here. You got Voss Water, you got Fiat, you got Penfolds. Penfolds has a red wine. So you ask for red. It's like New York, it's so good, you have to say it twice. It's a quality thing to say that there's a fine wine that obviously wants to engage with this community, that obviously wants to do the right thing for HIV. Why wouldn't you give that on Christmas when you're going to give a bottle of wine anyway when you go over for dinner? So I think it's great that brands are doing this now. And, there are a few that are astray, but for the most part, there's transparency, there's accountability. How much did you give to the Global Fund? For Red, in 5 years since 2006, when Bono and Bobby Shriver said at Davos they were going to do this, we've given $175 million to the Global Fund to help AIDS. That's 7,000 people. 7 million people, excuse me. 7 million people that now have treatment. So in a world where there's still 34 million people with AIDS and 22 million of them are in Africa, like we can't stop. So I'm trying to bring new partners into the fold, new ways to be read. I'm going to triple the amount of product and let more people be read by if you download a song, if you vote, if you want your gig to be read, making the amount that corporations have to give when trigger higher. So Penfolds, which you can get at penfolds.com, read, 15% when you buy that bottle versus the other goes to the Global Fund.
Wow, 15%?
15%. And it's transparent and it's there on the bottle. And you should demand that it's there on the bottle and so that you actually know. But with jobs, it's just so close to me. I feel like everybody has a personal relationship with their Mac, with Pixar, with, it's like, Ford with the automobile industry changed one industry. Jobs changed phones, computer, animation, music. Who does that in a lifetime? And I think one of the things that you associate with the brand is this idea of it's not luxury and even design so much that makes you happy. It's what you're passionate about and being able to do that. And people think Jobs did that. Like he said, forget the bullshit. I'm not even going to do market research. I think this is a beautiful design, and I'm putting it out there. Everybody respects that and applauds it. And so you feel, did I write to Apple and say, quietly, and I'm bringing this up because the New York Times slammed Apple for not doing enough with philanthropy. And Bono wrote a letter to the editor about 2 weeks ago and said, just because somebody doesn't wear it on their sleeves doesn't mean they're not giving. It's Steve Jobs and Apple. I can't say the figure because Jobs didn't want it out there. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of lives he saved in Africa. Like, would you have ever known that? No, but he just quietly did it on the side. So I feel that's what he stood for people, that there was this degree of follow your passion relentlessly. I'm sure he had to be a dictator at time and said that design sucks. And had to be a tastemaker. But that's okay. And look at the difference he made in so many lives.